My name is Ann Hardin, and I'm enjoying speaking with Michael today about the Ray Bradbury collection.
You guys had a correspondence for quite a few years, but when was the first time you actually met Ray?
Well, here's how we met. I came home one afternoon after school. I was a middle school band director. He liked the fact that I was a music teacher, and that I was also the editor of the International Trumpet Guild Journal. So lots of the things that I did were things he admired and he did himself. So I had lots of messages on the machine, and one was from Ray Bradbury, and I just about fell over because what he was telling me was that he had written a poem for the journal, which I knew about, but he said he had had a dream and all these brass instruments were playing, and would I give him a call to see if we could work something out. So call Ray Bradbury. So yes, I had his number, and I did call Ray Bradbury, and it was just like we had been talking together for years, just pleasant. And so he immediately said, you know, I've had this poem going through my head with brass instruments. And he said, your trumpet conference this next year is in Long Beach, California, right? And I said, yes. And he said, well, if I have a friend set that poem to music, do you think you could get it performed? And I said, yes. I didn't have any idea that I could get it performed, but I was not going to say no. So we talked a little bit more about it, and he said, well, now I have a friend who's very busy, but he'll do it if I ask him. So I immediately contacted the president of the International Trumpet Guild. His wife was a high school principal and English teacher, and he told me that she would kill him if he did not program a piece by Ray Bradbury on the big concert. So I called Ray back and I said, we have a slot that we can fill. And he said, okay, well, David Raxon then will call you in about 5 minutes. And then I said, well, who's David Raxon? And Ray said, oh, Ann, haven't you ever seen the movie Laura? And then he started singing the theme, Laura, to me. And I said, well, yes. I said, as a matter of fact, that's our favorite film. And he said, well, David wrote the music to Laura. So that blew me away as much as the call from Ray did. So sure enough, 5 minutes later, the phone rang. It was the classic Hollywood composer, David Raxon. And he said, now I'm a very busy man, but I will do this for my friend Raymond. He always called him Raymond, but that was not Ray's name. And he said, if you can guarantee a performance. And so I just said, I can guarantee a performance. And I still didn't really have any guarantee in 5 minutes from, you know. So we got everything set, and he said, well, what kind of ensemble will we use? I said, well, the final concert is a brass ensemble. He said, that'll be perfect. Contact the conductor and see if that's what we can use. So I did, and then was another glitch. If you have a poem, you have to have singers. Okay, so we were at Long Beach because that's when the campus was closed for spring break. Well, all the jazz choir kids agreed to stay on campus and do that performance if they could meet Ray Bradbury. So I set that up, and David wrote the music, and he had a brass arranger set it up to be a really jazzy piece. And so Ray and David came to the performance. And that was the first time I had ever met Ray in the flesh. He just kind of came into the auditorium, and we knew what we each looked like, you know. So I just went over, and I was trying to act like I wasn't stunned, but I was stunned.
That is really cool. So it's a very large collection. It's capacious. You have lots of things in it. But do you have a favorite item in the collection, or is there something really close to you that you love?
Yes. Can I hold them up so some of them? Okay,
Please.
well, the first favorite item is one the library already has. For Christmas 1997, after I had met Ray already in 96, my husband took me to Hollywood. That was my Christmas present. Okay, so we set it up, and Ray wanted to take us to brunch at the Four Seasons Hotel. So everybody, hi Ray, how are you, Ray? All the way to where our table was. So we sat down, and he had a package with him, and of course I had a package with me too. You don't go meet Ray Bradbury for Christmas and not have a package. So we had some lunch, and he said, well, I have a gift for you. And I knew he did. And so he said, well, here it is. Okay, so clearly it was going to be a book. And it was the worst wrapped package you could imagine in your life. It was just sort of rolled into wrinkled up Christmas paper. And he didn't have any tape, so he took stamps and he sealed the whole package. He probably spent $50 in stamps sealing this up. So I sort of gingerly started opening the corner, and I looked at him and I said, I know what this is. And he said, I knew you'd know what this is. That's great. And my husband was saying, what is it? What is it? What is it? Well, as soon as you opened the corner, you could see that it was that aluminum paper, sort of gray foil paper. That was the aluminum version of Fahrenheit 451. And it was a special edition. And even then it was $350. You know, it's lots more now. But so that's what Ray gave me from his own library, was the aluminum Fahrenheit 451. So that was my first gift and a favorite. But I'll show you something else that's a favorite gift. All right, it's in a box. Okay, now Ray Bradbury's famous, right? Lots of money, you would think. Okay, this showed up in the mail at Halloween one year. Okay, this is a Halloween tree that you sort of, it's metal and you pull the branches apart. It has little pumpkins and ghosts that you hang on there. Now, you want to know where Ray got this?
Yeah.
Guess.
Where'd he get
okay.
it?
He got it at the Kmart. He went to the Kmart and he paid $6.99 for it. And he told me later that he bought about 10 of these for special people. So I keep it in the box, and at Halloween, I bring it out, put it on its little stand. And then when Halloween's over, I very carefully put it back in the box. So, you know, that's another gift from Ray Bradbury, $6.99. So that's a favorite. This is something that he did for me without even asking. I was the co-author of this book called Inside John Haney's Studio. And just out of the blue, of course, you have endorsements on the back. Ray asked me if I would let him write an endorsement for this book. Let him. So I said, sure, that'd be great. And I sent him a couple of chapters, and he looked through it. He liked all the trumpet stuff. And so he wrote a glowing blurb. And of course, it's the final blurb on the dust jacket. And it's the only one that's not from a trumpet player. So that was really special. Another really special thing, of course, is this book, Now and Forever. This is not the book he autographed to me because the library has that, but I think you can probably see that this is the one that was dedicated to me. The Somewhere a Band is Playing novella. So when he told me he was going to do that on the phone, I had recently been in an automobile accident, and I had been on my way to visit him in California. So he was just absolutely distraught that had happened. And so he called me every Sunday afternoon because it was quite a long recovery. And we were just talking, and I said, what's happening with the book, Somewhere a Band is Playing? Are you ever going to finish that? And he said, well, yes, I will. And he said, and you know what I'm going to do? I said, well, what's that? He said, I'm going to dedicate it to you. So he started crying on the phone, and I was crying on the phone. And it was another one of these Jim walking through the den and wondered why in the world I was crying on the phone. So that was terrific. And his daughter later that afternoon sent me with the facts, how the inscription would read. So that's special. And I also have the cover art for this. I located the artist and I have the cover art. So that's also special.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to ask, I know you have some other things to ask me, and I have some other things I could also show you.
How about you show me one more thing, and then I'll ask you a few more questions, and if you want to show us some more stuff, you can show us some more stuff.
Okay. In the world of Ray Bradbury, he always says that the one item that just blew his career up and made him what he was the review of Martian Chronicles by Christopher Isherwood. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can't find that anywhere in the world. It was in a magazine, sort of like the New Yorker, but it was edited by a woman who was a medium. Okay, so you can't find it. Even Ray didn't have one. Okay, so I've just had this desire that I was going to get that magazine. I was just going to get it. Okay, so this is the magazine tomorrow. And you can see on the cover, the Martian Chronicles, a review, Christopher Isherwood. This was Isherwood's first review for this magazine. They had hired him as that. And so it's quite a long review in the back. Starts like this. I guess you can see part of that. And he talks about every story in the Martian Chronicles. And so it'll just blow you away because most reviews are this long. And this is about 3 pages. So I'll tell you how I got this. People would pay thousands of dollars for this or more. Well, I said that this was edited by a spiritualist, a medium. And so she used to attend a spiritualist church in Massachusetts. Well, I got the name of the church. And so I found out that that church had a little library. So I emailed the priest to see, was there really a library? Did he have anything? And that I was interested in this issue. And so he emailed me back quickly and he said, oh, I think we have several of those. I'll check tomorrow after the service. So he did check the next day after the service. He sent me an email on Monday. He says, I have several of these. I've just put one in priority mail for you, free of charge.
That's amazing.
So it came. I could hardly believe I was even holding it. And yes, I did make a contribution to his temple.
It pays to be tenacious.
Well, you just have to, there are lots of pieces in a puzzle for something like this, and not all the pieces fit. And so you just have to go piece by piece until finally one connects. And then that gives you a little bit of something to go on. So I found things on eBay and bought them instantly. And then the vendor would say, how did you buy this? We had just listed it. So, and a lot of things you'll be surprised how many times Fahrenheit is misspelled. So
I could only imagine.
Yeah. So one thing you can do if you're looking for something in particular is maybe misspell it a little bit and see if something else comes up. So some of the things that I have in the book collection are association items. And some people might not know what those are, but it's when the author inscribes a book for someone else who's famous. So one thing I have here is a copy of The October Country. Ray's best friend was Forrest Ackerman. And so this book is inscribed for Forey and Wendy with happy wishes always from old friend R. Bradbury, better known as Hollerbacken. And Hollerbacken's Dilemma was the first story that Ray ever published, and he published it in Forey Ackerman's fanzine called Imagination, which I have. So this is special to me, not only because it's for Forey and Wendy, and I knew them, but he signs it as Hollerbacken. So that's a little inside joke there. I'll show you something that is interesting to me. This is an envelope. I bought this on eBay. I don't know if you can tell, but this is an Edgar Allan Poe stamp. And here it says, "My Papa." All right, in the eBay ad, the person who sold this put that it said, "My Ray Ray." And I looked at that and I said, no. And what he was doing, he drew this little picture because he always said that Edgar Allan Poe was his father, you know, his literary father. Okay, so here was the other thing that was magic. Something in the envelope. All right, every Christmas, Ray and Maggie sent out a poem. All right, one year, Ray let me pick the poem. And this is the poem that he let me pick. This was the poem that was in the envelope. It's his poem, Imagine. That's my favorite of his poems. So oddly enough, the one that I picked was what was in this envelope. So, and then may I show you two other things?
Yeah, please.
Okay. There's a fanzine called the Rotomagnetic Digest, and its subtitle is The Elves, Gnomes, and Little Men's Science Fiction Chowder and Marching Society. These are as rare as hen's teeth. And in May 1950, Ray was their first guest of honor, and he was honored as being the newest talent who would probably show promise over time. So he was a recipient of their award. Okay, so he wrote a little essay for this magazine. Okay, and it's called A Few Notes on the Martian Chronicles. Well, there's one quote that's just everywhere about Ray, and you can't find it to save your life. Guess where it is? Right here. Okay, so the quote is, "Mars is a mirror, not a crystal." And so he was always telling people that about Mars, that they might be disappointed about what they find, but it's not some crystal ball. And so I had always wondered, where did that quote come from? And so so I was reading this. This is one of those items that had just been put on eBay, and I have never seen another one. So, and I think I paid $25 for it. So there was the quote I'd always looked for, the magazine I'd always looked for. I found one. It was inexpensive. I've never seen another one. So, and then last, this is precious for me. Probably most people know that when John Huston hired Ray to do the screenplay for Moby Dick, that the relationship went sour in a hurry. John Huston was not a nice man. He played jokes on Ray all the time, and they were not nice jokes. Okay, so Ray went to Paris, and then he was going to go to Ireland and start everything. So at that point, he was just thrilled to death to have been selected to do this. So I have this letter. It's to Forey Ackerman, dated September 25th, 1953. And Ray is excited about going to work with John Huston. This was probably one of the last letters that he wrote before he actually got to Ireland. And this was a really special acquisition, but he says, Europe, Houston, Melville, how can one do better than that in a lifetime? But then, of course, later, you know, he did finish it, but the thing about this letter is it's just evidence of how things can change in Hollywood. John Huston was his hero. He hated him when he left. And of course, if you've ever watched the Ray Bradbury Theater, there's that story called Banshee. And that story is based on his hatred of John Huston. So those were the things that I got out to show.